bringing the people behind our food to life.
The good news is we can solve this problem. We have the first president in U.S. history who grew up in a family that received food stamps. He gets it. And he's the first president in U.S. history who set a specific goal for ending child hunger in America as a down payment on ending all hunger. President Obama has pledged to end child hunger by 2015. And beyond the pledges, rhetoric is cheap. This president's put his money, and this Congress has put their money where their mouths are. The stimulus package has over $20 billion to fight hunger in America. The president's very controversial budget proposal proposes more funding for child nutrition programs, and he proposes to pay for it by slightly cutting agribusiness subsidies to large corporations that don't need it, and restoring previous levels of taxation on the very wealthiest in our society. Some people say that's socialism. That's poppycock. You know, maybe the very wealthiest after this tax restoration are going to be able to afford only 6 vacation homes instead of 7. That's hardly socialism. Their levels of taxation would still be higher than they were under Ronald Reagan, and we're going to use that money to make sure that working families, people who are working hard and play by the rules, can simply get enough food so their kids don't starve. That's not socialism. That's capitalism at its best, rewarding working families to make sure that they're even more productive as workers and as students.
So talk to me about the myth of the self-made man. I don't need the government. I made my world, you know, what it is, and my success is who I am.
America has created a myth that poor people are dependent on government and rich people aren't. Well, first of all, most poor people work, most poor people pay taxes. After welfare reform, only 10% of the poor people in America are on welfare. 90% of the poor people in America aren't on welfare. Now let's look at the wealthiest. Donald Trump wakes up in the morning. Before he's even awake, government tax dollars have taken away his trash. He goes to the bathroom, government water takes away his wastewater. He brushes his teeth with government fresh water, rides his limo over a government paved road to a government heliport where his helicopter is protected by government air traffic controllers. He rides over his domain of buildings built with government tax subsidies, protected by government firefighters, government police officers, government building inspectors, and then he lands his helicopter, again protected by government air traffic controllers, at his vacation home, which under current law gets a tax break through the mortgage interest deduction up to $1 million. The Donald Trumps of the world, God bless them, they get help from government dozens and dozens and dozens of times a day. Far more help than does a poor person. Even Warren Buffett, the second richest man in America, often talks about how he did not get there on his own. He went to a public university, and he talks willfully about how much help he's gotten from the collective society all throughout his career. The self-made American is a myth. We are all in this together. It's just when poor people get help from the government, we begrudge them. When rich people get help from the government, we say that's just the status quo, and that's what's necessary to preserve our economy.
Tell me how a real nutrition safety net might work.
If we had a nutrition assistance safety net functioning as well as I'd like, first of all, it would be streamlined. Instead of more than a dozen different programs with a dozen different applications, you'd have one big program with one application. The food allotments would be nutritionally adequate to make you able to buy a full assortment of nutritious foods. You'd be able to use your benefits at a farmer's market, at a community-supported agriculture project, and it would be a far easier to get safety net. You wouldn't be treated like a criminal to get this help, and you'd be able to earn a little more than just the low poverty line and still get these benefits. We do all those things. We can actually save money by reducing paperwork, reducing bureaucracy, and pumping that extra money into benefits to feed hungry families.
It just shocks me that we haven't done it yet.
Well, we've made a lot of progress. Before the safety net of the 1960s and 1970s was created, we really had more children in America starving in developing world conditions. We still have too much malnutrition in this country, but we've made a lot of progress. So the answer isn't to throw up our hands and say nothing works. The answer is to finish the job. And the way to finish the job is by creating a society with living wage jobs and a robust safety net.
I was also blown away by that so many of the numbers on hunger don't include homeless.
One of the greatest ironies of all is when the federal government counts who is hungry in America or who is food insecure in America, they only count people in households. And so people who are homeless are not counted. And in fact, the greatest irony of all, as homelessness surges, it could actually falsely show that hunger is decreasing. Because if someone was hungry and poor and previously in a house, they were counted as hungry. But if they become even hungrier and then homeless, they're no longer counted. So that is a grave deficiency in our methodology for counting hunger.
What is it that people can do? Is there anything people
Everyone
can do?
thinks the top thing they should do is donate a few extra cans, and that's great. But even more importantly than donating cans, you should donate money, because your average food bank can buy a lot more cans with your money. But even more than donating money to a local feeding organization, you should contact your elected officials. You should contact your U.S. senators, your U.S. congresspeople, your governors, your state representatives, and say, we need a comprehensive plan at the federal, state, and local levels to end hunger in America.